There we go. All right. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today for this new info session that we're bringing back now that international travel is happening more and more. So today we'll give you all the tools to find an international internship. We also have some guest speakers from different offices around campus that are very nicely joining us today to share resources about funding an international internship, as well as how to prepare effectively for international travel, especially when it comes to a university sanctioned internship abroad. And I'll give you lots of resources on how to stay in touch with our office. And as I mentioned, there will be time for questions at the end. So feel free to write them in the chats and we'll get back to them. At any point, if there's any problems with the slides or anything, feel free to just unmute yourself. All right, so I will go straight into it. How do you go about finding an internship? How do you apply for them? Where's the timeline, the deadlines, all of that information. So first of all, a quick introduction if you're not familiar with the Arts Internship Office. So we offer obviously internships for students in the Faculty of Arts. But as we will mention today, we offer we help students find funding opportunities, and we also offer training before, during, and after the internship. And we also have a mentorship program available and also support from past interns as well as our staff. So this is a quick timeline. We often get a lot of questions about when should your internship be, how long should it be, when do you start looking? So you've already made the first step by being here today, so congratulations. This is definitely the right period, as you can see, October to December, to start finding your summer internship. So really getting familiar with our services, and especially when it comes to international internship, you really want to start as early as possible. As you will see today, there's a lot more steps and requirements to your travel in order to be ready for your internship. So it's definitely great to start early on. As you will see, the deadlines can often be earlier and there's a lot more steps to complete. As a rule of thumb, we really recommend doing summer internships in the Faculty of Arts because there's no co-op program. So we really recommend focusing on your studies during the semester. And we usually recommend doing an internship between May to August. As you will see, a lot of our partnerships are usually during May to July. But if you find your own internship, which I will get into, there could be a bit of flexibility around that. And as I was mentioning, we offer a lot of training and workshops and info sessions like today's session. So depending on the stages of your internship search, there will be resources to prepare your applications, resources to learn about all the opportunities, as well as support during and after your internship to really make the most out of your internship. So I always like to bring a bit of a definition. Again, we're in university. We always like a good definition of what is an internship and what is not an internship. So really to differentiate an internship from a part-time job, it's really about the learning objectives, the training, and then the supervision and mentorship that you get during your experiential learning opportunity. You really have to go into your internship with a learner's mindset. You're not expected to be a full-time worker with all the skills. You're there to learn and to gain a new skill set. And as I mentioned, it's not necessarily a mandatory part of your studies since there's no co-op program. However, obviously, it's very beneficial. However, sometimes there's a lot of pressure to do an internship from your first year. If ever it doesn't work out, we really want students to not be discouraged and to keep trying. Again, as you'll see, there's a lot of opportunities out there. So obviously you want to make the most out of them. But it's always to gauge if it's the right opportunity at this time for you. So what is not in an internship? Again, you really want to differentiate from a part-time job with the learning objectives and the mentorship that you'll get from your supervisor. And today I'll go a bit more in depth as well about two things we want to warn students about, which is volunteerism and fee-based organizations. So volunteerism is a mix of the words volunteer and tourism. I feel like it was a bit more, if I can say, a trend before the pandemic. I feel like these opportunities don't seem to be as popular anymore in the past few years. But there would be a lot of programs that generate a lot of profits by charging students steep charges. Often, the cliche of like building an orphanage and with really negative outcomes and dynamics for the communities that they claim to support. And these opportunities really fall outside of the efforts of, as I mentioned, the learning objectives and are very against the university's teaching mission. So we really warn against those internships. Sometimes they can be marketed as internships. And it's kind of hand in hand, again, with any fee-based organization. So any organization that asks for upfront cost from students, and they often come with a guaranteed placement, the offer of a guaranteed placement. And these opportunities are not, do not qualify for any of the resources to be through our office, such as academic credit or recognition through the university. Again, this is really for the safety of interns. There's often, you shouldn't have to pay upfront costs. There's a lot of resources on campus, as you will see today, to help you find an internship. And there's been a lot of safety issues in the past from such organizations. So if ever, you see those opportunities, you have questions about it, feel free to come and talk to us at the office. However, they will not qualify for everything I will be mentioning today. So alternatively to these organizations, here are kinds of internship opportunities that you can find through our office. So the first one I will refer to as our internship postings. So those are partnerships that we have with organizations. And there is a reserve spot for faculty of our students every summer to conduct these internships. And I will explain the application process. It all goes first through our office for first selection. And you really get a unique opportunity to talk to past interns and to have this network of mentors and past interns to really help you through your application process. So it's a really unique opportunity. And we can obviously help you find your own internship. So if you see none of the postings are interesting to you, or if there's, there's only a handful of opportunities that we offer through a partnership. So there's a lot more out there that we can help you find as well. And we also offer research internships. So I won't go into as much detail today because we've had a separate info session about it, but it will be up on our website if you are interested in the research internships. And I will quickly mention there can be a travel aspect to the ARIA research internships. However, they are usually conducted on campus. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the internship postings for next summer, so summer 2025. As I mentioned, those postings are usually between May to July, but each opportunity can be different. So you want to make sure that you read through the requirements. So the main deadline for all these postings is February 9th. However, again, it's not on the website, so you get an exclusive information today. There will be an early deadline of January 12th for some of the opportunities that I'll mention today. We're still in the works of negotiating the postings for next summer. So make sure to sign up for a listserv that I will be also sharing at the end of the presentation in order to get those updates straight in your inbox, and to follow us on social medias and to check the websites. Again, in the next few weeks, we're going to get all these information. However, the host organizations are deciding exactly what the positions are going to look like. However, it might seem early, but November's around the corner, and next thing you know, it's going to be January. So you really want to make sure to stay up to date for these upcoming deadlines. So the main eligibility criteria for all of the AIO postings, you do have to be in the Faculty of Arts. So that includes art students as well as arts and science, social work, theology, I believe, bachelor's of theology, masters of arts, masters of social work, and masters of information studies. The other eligibility criteria is that you have to be returning to McGill in the same program in the fall. So you could be a master's student, however, you need to be returning in the fall in the same program. So for this summer, it will be fall 2025. There is a GPA requirement of 2.7. However, if you have experience barriers during your academic journey that has impacted your GPA significantly, you can include some of that information in your applications, and that will be taken into consideration. Again, at any point, feel free to come talk to us before you apply as well. In terms of responsibilities on your end as an intern, especially when it comes to travel, you are responsible for finding your own accommodations, travel arrangements. Again, in terms of costs, there are funding that you can apply to through your university. However, you are responsible for securing, enough funding to support yourself during the internship, especially if it involves traveling outside of Canada. As well as anything entry requirements. So we know it can be challenging. And again, that's why it's good to really start early to get that information because the entry requirements really depend on your own nationality and the country you're going to, and each situation is very unique. And so you really want to make sure that you get the updated information and that you really look into your own your own situation in depth to make sure you have all of the requirements in line for your internship. So for the AIO postings I'm going to talk about today, if you want to already get started, again, we're working on the postings for next summer. So everything on the website is for summer 2024. However, we're letting it up because usually it comes back, year after year. We're in the negotiation process with the organizations. So there might be a few changes. There might be a few changes from what you see on the website. However, obviously, like the definitions of the organizations and things like that are going to be similar. So I really invite you to read through the PDF postings on the website. I'll show you how to navigate the website right after. We're also posting the past intern stories. So as I was mentioning, you really get a unique opportunity to hear from past interns and to talk to them during our events and on their blog posts on the website. In order to apply for the postings, there is a maximum of 3 postings per application. So we really recommend quality over quantity of your application. So since they're all going through our office, again, it's really good to take the time to familiarize yourself, to talk to past interns. And we really want you to produce a quality individualized application for each of the internship posting rather than copy paste and apply to all 60 because it's going to be the same person reading through your applications. And we really want to make sure it's a good match for yourself and for the organization. So that's why there's a maximum of 3. And you will have to rank them in order of preference, and that will be taken into consideration as well. So again, all of that work can be done before the application. As I already mentioned, we have Sarah here today, who's also one of our student advisors at the office, who did an internship herself. I forgot to mention who I am as well. I am Jade from the Arts Internship Office. So if ever you want to book an appointment, which will also be linked at the end of the presentation, I really recommend come and talk to us for individualized advising sessions, as early as possible to really know which posting will be the best match for you. Just a reminder as well that all the questions should be addressed to our office and not to contact the host organizations directly, since we are the middleman between them. And we do not review CV and cover letter, but I will give you resources for on-campus with the Career Planning Services, who does offer individual reviews of CV and cover letters. And if you want to apply for the posting, so you will have to prepare the material for your application. The form itself is not open yet. It's going to open once the postings are uploaded. However, you can already see the list of everything, all the documents that will be required of you. So as I mentioned, the CV and cover letters. So you can already start preparing, especially your CV. It's good to always have it up to date. And that's something we always tend to procrastinate. Nobody really loves to do it. But if you get all the help you can, it's really not that bad. And as we'll mention today with Lisa from the McGill Abroad office, you will need to do your pre-departure orientation in advance. So again, just a few things to keep in mind. And as I mentioned, so all the applications are through a web form that will need to be submitted by the deadline, which again, the main deadline is February 9th, and there will be a few opportunities with an earlier deadline of January 12th. So again, quickly, what to prepare. We'll have a more in-depth info session about the application process in January, but in case it's not up before the early deadline, I wanted to give a few information if you are applying for the early deadline opportunities. So you will need your personal and academic information, such as your major, your year, and things like that. your unofficial transcripts that you can easily print and save as PDF from Minerva, not the official one, the unofficial transcript. Again, make sure that you read through all the eligibility criteria and especially the requirements for each posting. And the targeted CV and cover letter for each internship. So you're applying to 3 and you want to make sure your CV and cover letter are targeted for each of these internships. You will need, it says 1 PDF document, so you need to merge your CV and cover letter for each internship. So again, there will be 3 documents with the CV and cover letter merged for each. The pre-departure orientation, certificate of completion that we will explain later on. And it's good to already familiarize yourself with the requirements listed in our handbook, which is on our website. Which, again, if you follow this link on our website, which I will show later on, you can see the handbook. Obviously, it is the one from 2024. You can see a lot of information for the requirements that involve for internships that involve travel, so that can be important as well. And to familiarize yourself with the trainings and workshops that are offered during the internship, as well as the requirements that come with being an award recipient. All right, so yeah, for the early deadline, a few clarifications. The reason why we have an early deadline is because a number of our opportunities need a security clearance. Yeah, and they also have citizenship requirements that I will show in the next few slides. But yes, the security clearance can take some time, so that's why we have an earlier deadline, because it can take a few months. And so we want to make sure that you will be able to start your internship at the same time as everybody else. And so again, we're in the talks with the organizations to see which ones will need the earlier deadline for the security clearance. And the applications for the other postings will open after the early application deadline. And you can still apply for the February deadline. If you apply, again, there's a maximum of 3 per application. So if you apply for the first round, you'll be able to apply for second round as well. Hopefully you'll have the answer by then. But again, you can talk to our advisors if that's the case. Hopefully I haven't lost anyone there and I'm not going too quick. I see some questions in the chat and I'll get to them by the end. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the postings that we have outside of Canada. So again, international. First of all, a few of our United States postings, and then I will talk about the ones outside of North America. So firstly, we have the delegation, Délégation Générale du Québec at New York, which again, I've listed the main core requirements, and you can see the posting on the website, but a few, especially when it comes to the task and the projects you'll be working on, that might change for next year. However, these are some core requirements that are always eligibility requirements that come back for this position. So you need to be fluent in French and English. You need to be a Canadian or US citizen and have access to a US bank account. And again, a number of legal documents, social insurance number, things like that you will need to indicate in your cover letter. And this is one of the opportunities where you will need to have a security clearance screening. As I was mentioning, so there are stories. Again, I'll show on our website, there is a stories section, and you can read the stories from our past interns this summer, Jeanne and Pascal, who did the internship in New York City. Then we have, we have 2 internships in Maine, so one in Brunswick and one in Portland. Both of these opportunities are a lot more hands-on, environmental fields are related, but both of these opportunities also require US citizenship. So I'll just throw it in there at this point, but I feel like sometimes students are kind of scared to apply to the posting because they're like, oh, they're so popular, you know, it's very competitive, there's too many people applying. But if you really look carefully and look at the requirements, again, if there are citizenship requirements or some more language requirements, if you are at the intersection of, you know, speaking French and having US citizenship, you might be in a smaller pool of students applying for these internships. So that's why it's really important to come and talk to our advisors before applying so that you can really apply to the posting that really matches your profile the best. And just a word of advice to not get scared by just the thought of having to compete with other people, because you really have access to a lot of resources to help you build a competitive internship profile. Um, all right. So once again, you can find the stories from last summer's intern on the website. And now the postings that we have outside of North America. So we have 2 in Vienna, 2 in Panama, and 1 in Accra, Ghana, but that is potentially remote, which I will explain. So in Vienna, we have 2 postings with the Permanent Missions of Canada. So one is with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the VOSCE, and the other one is a Permanent Mission of Canada to the International Organizations, the PERM. So once again, I'll invite you to go through the postings to really read through the definitions and the requirements. But both of these internships also have a number of eligibility requirements that are different than the other internships. These will for sure be the January 12th early deadline. So these postings are only for students with Canadian citizenship. You will also need to go through the security clearance, and you will need to have confirm your eligibility for academic credits. So again, usually academic credit is something that is available to you for certain departments and not necessarily required. However, for the Vienna internships, it is a requirement in order for you to be able to do the internship. So you will need to have approval from your department in order to conduct the internship, and be able to provide documents such as the Quebec lease, again, from the list of documents. So again, these are really non-negotiable requirements for this internship to take into consideration if you are looking into applying for it. Once again, you can read the reports from past interns on our website. So again, for academic credits, so just to share, even if you're not applying for the Vienna internships, it is an option for certain departments. You always need to apply before you start your internship. The course is taken in the fall. So again, in terms of timeline, you find your internship, and then before you start, you apply for the academic credits, you find your supervisor and your department. Then you conduct your internship over the summer, and then when you come back in fall 2025, in this case, that's when you will be doing your internship with your supervisor. The way the internship course goes really depends on your department and on what the supervisor decides. However, it's not getting credit for doing the internship, and the course cannot be taken at the same time as the internship. It's really more of an academic reflection, usually a paper that you write after the internship when you come back to campus. So once again, I will show you where to find this information on the website. But just to know that not all departments offer this course, and that each department has its own eligibility requirements when it comes to the academic credit course. So that's why it's important for the Vienna internships to really look beforehand, because you don't want to go through the whole application process, get your hopes up, and then realize that your department doesn't offer the credit course, which is required. So again, that's why it's really important to put in the work to just write down all the requirements and make sure that you meet all of them before applying for internships. Next, we have the internships in Panama City. So we have 2 UN organizations, the United Nations Population Fund, as well as the World Food Program. These 2 internships are in person, and so they require a very good knowledge of Spanish that is mandatory, both written and speaking. Once again, you can read the stories from the past interns on the website, and at any point as well, if you would like to, again, if you are interested in these positions, I would recommend come and talk to our advisors, but you can also send us an email and we can put you in touch directly with those past interns if you want to talk to them directly. So once again, that's usually not something you get to do when you just Google an internship posting. So I really recommend taking advantage of that. And lastly, our last international posting for next summer will be the Ghana Center for Democratic Development. So for this one, it's a very unique one where we actually give you the choice to do it remotely or in person. So if you do it remotely, again, to note that there is a time difference with Ghana. So you will be working very early in the morning. Again, if you're working in Montreal, again, we've had interns do it in the past, so you can talk to them about their experience. But yes, there is no travel for that internship, and you have to work around the time difference. And there is, I put it in this presentation because there is an option to apply to go in person. However, it is required to be familiar with the region and to have previous travel experience. Again, it's really It's not guaranteed. But however, if you feel like you would want to do this internship in person, you can precise so in your internship application, and we will consider your application. Once again, you can read from the past interns. They both did the internship remotely last summer. However, we've had interns do the internship in person in the past as well. Okay, so for our website, I will quickly kind of show you where to find the information I've mentioned so far, and then we will go into the funding resources. All right, can you just confirm that you can see the website? Yes, perfect. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with our website yet, we always like to refer you to the website, but we always try to bring you to the specific page and information that you will need. But every form, everything I've mentioned so far can be found on our website. So for internships, as you can see, the postings has its own page here. As I mentioned, as we do these info sessions, we record them and then we put them up on the website. So this is the application process info session from last year. Again, it's going to be very similar in terms of what you have to prepare, but take everything from last summer with a grain of salt that there might be changes for next summer. The postings for next summer are in the process of being updated. So we're hoping by ideally November, but probably December, January to have all of them up. And the deadline is February 9th. However, for the early application, it will be January 12th, which again will be uploaded soon. So as you can see, for last year, we had its own section for the early application. Last year, we only had the Vienna organizations be early deadline. There might be some other ones this year. And so, as I mentioned, the posting. So if you click on this button, you can see the PDF posting from last summer's internship. So yeah, it's a very detailed posting. Each of them are very different. So that's why you should really look into the details and the requirements, especially, again, Canadian citizenship. These information are subject to change, in terms of the hours, the dates, and the remuneration. But to note that all of these postings are paid and come with a fixed award, which I will explain. There are parts of the Faculty of Arts Internship Awards. However, if you are selected for the internship, you will automatically be receiving that award. You won't have to apply for it. How to apply. So there is a link back to the page I will show you. The application deadline is obviously different, so note that as well. And for these requirements, as I mentioned, in terms of academic credit and the legal documents you have to provide, those will be similar. So these are the postings, and you can go through, as I mentioned, I really recommend going through the different categories. And since you have to pick 3 of them, it's really good to read through all of them, look at the requirements. Again, I'm a broken record, but come talk to our advisors to see which ones it's a best match for you. In terms of how to apply, as I mentioned, the form is not open. However, there's a very detailed page on all the documents you have to prepare. So once again, feel free to read through that page already. In terms of finding your own internship, so I don't honestly have a lot of slides on it since it's all on this page on our website. Once again, we'll have a different info session on how to find your own internship. And it's also recommended to come to our office and drop in hours to really have individualized advice on how to find the internship. But we do have a PDF handout checklist that can be very helpful. The first step, again, especially at this point, is to really define your interest, especially if we're talking about travel. Define which country are you thinking of going? Do you want to go back home? Is there somewhere logistically that makes sense for you to do an internship? If the world's your oyster, maybe pick a few locations, pick a few areas of interest, and really to start making a list and look at the opportunities that are in those specific locations and specific organizations. CV cover letter. So again, I'll show you all the resources on how to get started, but that's really, the CV is really the best place to start at this point. And as I've mentioned, meet with our staff and use all of the resources that are available to you. So the career planning services that we refer to as CAPS are really the experts when it comes to career planning in general. So I really, it goes hand in hand with the services that we offer. And when it comes to preparing your applications, they really are experts. So if you're just getting started, you can really use their guides that are very helpful, very detailed. Again, in terms of even formatting, feel free to just copy their format. is very straight to the point. It's really great. And you can also book an appointment with them or go to their drop-in hours. And as I mentioned, you can bring a copy of your CV or your cover letter, and they'll be able to review it for you. Well, with you, not for you. So again, really make sure to use those resources. And when it comes to look for your internship, so there's a few databases. The My Future database that's been recently updated that's actually from the Career Planning Services. So I also recommend talking to them about it. And there is a wide range of opportunities that you can find on their database. And they serve every faculty on campus. So again, if you are interested in doing an internship that is outside of your field of study, that is a possibility, and you could explore that on their database. And we also have our own database that is not partnership, so you have to log in for that as well. But you can go by areas of interest, by location. So again, if you're interested in travel, and these are mostly places where faculty of our students have interned in the past. So again, it doesn't mean that we have a partnership with them. However, we try to have an exhaustive list of all the places where people have been before. That can be a good way, to introduce yourself, to say, oh, I know you've had a McGill intern in the past. I would be interested in doing an internship with you. So again, if you want more in-depth, individualized advising, I would recommend to come and talk to our advisors. So we have also the Faculty of Arts Internship Awards that I will explain in terms of funding. And we have a little section about applying to internships in your first year. Again, it can be a one-on-one conversation, but we really recommend first years to apply as soon as possible. Again, it's not mandatory, but it can be really helpful to even go through the application process to get feedback on your applications and to really define your interests for the upcoming summers. So these are resources. So as I mentioned, also all of these resources are for returning students. So if you're a graduating student, you can check through this page and actually go to the Career Planning Services because they have access to a bunch of opportunities that are specifically for graduating students. So there are opportunities, but everything through the AIO is only for returning students. So in terms of funding, we will get into it right now. For the research internships, you can go through the ARIA page. Everything we'll say about travel is also listed on the travel section of our website. For ME, we have a mentorship initiative. The applications are closed for this semester. However, we're hoping to open it back up for January, and we'll have lots of events and opportunities to be involved with past interns, which you can find on the events page. For students, so that's actually where you can find the handbook from last summer if you want to have a look through it, and access to different resources and document requests if you need so for your internships. The events page is where you can find all of the workshops and events that are coming up. So I'll be mentioning them, but we have some CV writing and cover letter workshops coming up as well in November. The story section I've been mentioning a lot. So we also have a recording of our annual event where you can hear testimonies from past interns during the event as well. So that can be a great way if you're more of a listening than a reader. But if you're interested in a specific internship, I really recommend looking through stories to hear from them. And finally, contact information. So again, I'll be mentioning in the slides, but if you want to look back at our drop-in hours, email, our address, we're in the Leacock building. So that's a quick overview of the website. And now I will go back to my slides to talk about me and Zoom are not friends. So talk about funding opportunities. All right. So as I've already alluded to a few times, we offer Faculty of Arts Internship Awards. Last summer, we had 145 students receive awards. The eligibility criteria, I went very quickly through the website, but you can find the exhaustive list of eligibility criteria and the application process. Once again, there's a different info session for that, so I won't spend too much time on it. It is open to all art students, as I've listed earlier, both undergraduate and graduate students, as long as you are returning to McGill in the fall. You need to In order to apply, you need to have your internship secured. It needs to be a summer internship at 8 to 12 weeks between May and August. Oh, sorry, it says 2024, but that's 2025. The GPA requirement is also 2.7, but once again, if you've had something impact your GPA, again, the thinking around the GPA requirement is really that if you are struggling with your academics, we really want you to focus on your academics first. And maybe it's not the right time to do an internship. Maybe you should focus on putting your resources towards your academics. But once again, if something has happened that has impacted your GPA, it's a conversation to have with our office. The deadline to apply for the awards is March 16th. So once again, that is if you find your own internship and then you want to apply for funding, that is where you would apply for it through our office. But that is my next slide. If you are applying for the posting, so the partnerships that we have, such as the Vienna ones that I've talked about earlier, those automatically come with the award amount that is listed on the posting. So hopefully that distinction is clear. And I will now give the non-existent mic to Veronica to talk about the enriched educational opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. So I work for the Scholarship and Student Aid Office, and we also have need-based aid bursary for EEOs that we provide, which are separate from the enriched educational opportunity. So the enriched educational opportunity is determined by the faculty. So the faculty will determine if it qualifies as an EEO. And what that is it's a high quality mobility and work experience opportunity outside of the classroom, foster self-development, and it can help with transition successfully to the workplace or graduate students. But the Faculty of Arts will determine if it's an EEO. However, we determine if we have our own eligibility criteria within our office for the need-based bursary for it. So you'll receive an academic credit. If you receive academic credit or recognize the internship on the co-curricular, you'll have to put it on the co-curricular record. Here's the website for this is the website for make sure to read for our page to make sure you'll read all the eligibility criteria for the bursary, which differs from the Faculty of Arts. To be considered for the bursary program, you have to be a full-time student. You'll have to be in satisfactory standing, so above a 2.0 GPA. You have to receive maximum available government aid. And the most important part is you have to demonstrate need, because it's a need-based bursary program. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if it's the criteria of an EEO within your faculty that you'll automatically get the need-based bursary program. That you have to determine when you apply with us. So here you can see a QR code that will bring you to our page to determine, make sure you read all the eligibility criteria. You'll have to submit an in-course financial aid application and as well as an EEO budget. And then at that point, you'll meet with the counselor. And with the counselor, you'll have an assessment and they'll be able to determine if you fit the criteria. If you're an American student, I know there was just a question about this. If you're an American or an international student and you don't get government aid, that's okay. We take that in consideration. You just have to, if you if government aid is available to you, you need to be taking the maximum amount of government aid. But the most important part is you have to demonstrate need. So as an international student or an American student, that would be how we would determine the amount that you might be eligible for, or if you are eligible for bursary. So you have to make sure to go onto our web page to apply for the bursary program. For us, the criteria also differ. That, from my understanding, the Faculty of Arts, you can't like unpaid off-campus research internships would qualify as an EEO, but the Faculty of Arts does not provide off-campus research internships. So there's different things. You have to go through the Faculty of Arts first, receive your letters through the internship office, and then with that come to our office and we'll determine if you're eligible for a bursary. If it doesn't appear on a transcript, even if it appears on a transcript in the internship office, you would need to follow up with the CCR. The CCR is the core curricular record that would be put in by the internship office. And I believe Jade will take over at this point.
Thank you, Veronica. Yes, exactly. So the co-curricular record, I know there's a lot of acronyms and elements, but just to mention as well, so as Veronica was explaining, sorry, I'll just change the, there we go. As Veronica was explaining, the EO bursary is independent from our office. If you are receiving an award or applying for an award, you can also apply for the EO. Again, it's separate, and you can apply from it independently from our awards. But again, don't think you have to choose one or the other. Again, it's always better to come and talk to us first if you have any questions or uncertainty around that. And then the co-curricular record. So as Veronica was mentioning, you need to get approval from our faculty in order to apply for the EAO bursary. However, everyone has access to the co-curricular records as well. Again, we'll be adding it on our webpage as a different page, but a lot of people are not aware. So the co-curricular, it's really hard to say. I'll just say CCR. Is on a website called My Involvement, and it's McGill credentials for everything that you do outside the classroom. And it's actually an official document from the university that can be sent directly to employers or higher, if you do a master's in the future or a different degree. So it's a really great way to showcase your achievements. And so you could have your internship recognized on the co-curricular record. And yes, and that's for us to give the approval in order to apply for the bursary. You would need to apply for the co-curricular record. Again, if you follow the links, you'll find all the information. But just to see that, as Veronica was explaining, sometimes the faculty requirements might differ a little bit from the university-wide requirements. So once again, make sure to talk to us if you have any questions, because everything is very dependent to the faculty and the departments. But keep in mind, again, that there are bursaries for need-based bursaries available that you can apply to on top of the awards that we offer. As I briefly mentioned, we have, and as Veronica mentioned, so for research internships, we offer on-campus research internships with McGill faculty members. There's a bursary of $5,000. Again, half of it comes from the faculty member and the other half is matched by our office. Once again, we have a separate info session and the deadline for that is February 23rd. As I briefly mentioned, you can have a travel component to this opportunity. However, it is usually on campus, but again, you will have to follow the requirements that we are going to talk about now. with Lisa from the McGill Abroad office. So if you are preparing for international travel, you want to make sure to follow the following requirements. So go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Jade. Hi, everyone. So my name is Lisa. As Jade mentioned, I am the Safety Abroad Officer who works within the James Building as part of ODP SLL, so Office of the Deputy Provost, Student Life and Learning, and I'm part of International Education. So as mentioned and indicated here on the slide, so there are certain responsibilities that students have to abide by in order for them to be able to travel abroad on a university-sanctioned activity. So whether that means an internship, whether that means an exchange, research opportunity, etc. So for outside of Canada, pre-departure orientation is mandatory for all students. So you can easily find that information on our website, mcgill.ca /McGill Abroad. And if you go into the safety requirements, you'll be able to see pre-departure. We recommend it within 3 to 6 months prior to your scheduled departure. It's always best practice to aim to do it earlier because there's a lot of information which is useful, specifically with regard to traveling, culture shock, reverse culture shock, preparing for visa applications, etc. So as illustrated here on the slide, you'll see that registration opens at the beginning of each month and closes 1 week afterwards. So there's always an opportunity within the month cycle to be able to register. So my best advice for you is, even if you're thinking about an internship or any other university sanctioned activity, just be sure to complete it in advance. It's always good to have. And in addition to it being mandatory, of course, for the internships, the certificates are valid for 1 calendar year. Okay, so you can keep that and download it and have a copy for your records. Okay, and you can move to the next slide. Okay, perfect. So in terms of the Government of Canada's travel advisory and or warnings, it's important to understand that McGill follows, in terms of their policy on student safety abroad, the Government of Canada's travel advisory. So with GAC, you'll be able to see on their website which regions and which countries are risk rated. So you'll see here, number 1 is exercise normal security precautions. 2, exercise high degree of caution. 3 is avoid non-essential travel. And 4 is avoid all travel. So as per the policy on student safety abroad, university sanctioned activities cannot take place and will not be approved for any level or region that is a level 3 or a level 4. Okay. Obviously, this information is subject to change in terms of the risk rating, but the policy remains the same. So it's important to take that into consideration. You can move to the next slide. And just to reiterate, because I think we skipped over it, in addition to the pre-departure orientation, for all students traveling outside of the Greater Montreal region, it is mandatory as well to download the McGill Student Travel Registry app. So it's an app that's free of charge. You'll download it onto your mobile device, and you'll simply indicate the steps are on our website, where you'll be traveling to on your university sanctioned activity, and for which duration and for which program. And this way, it allows me to verify with the Government of Canada's travel registry if there's a change or an emergency, an unlikely emergency. It'll allow me to contact students in an area where there might be danger associated with it. So those 2 mandatory requirements are listed, and the information is on the website, in addition to other requirements such as, securing the proper visas, etc., and ensuring that you have appropriate medical and medical advice. So if there are any questions, I can certainly answer them now. If not, you can obviously feel free to send an email to safetyabroad@mcgill.ca. My contact information is there. And yes, does anybody have any questions with regard to these safety requirements?
Feel free to just unmute yourself if you have questions right now. We do have a question in the chat of, does McGill help fight a visa? So I don't know if you want to answer it, Lisa.
So specifically in terms of the visa requirements, I would suggest the students to consult the information that's on our website because it's different for each student, right, depending on their country of citizenship, etc. But within pre-departure, there is a wealth of information with regards to how to go about that. So I'd encourage you for that question to sign up to the pre-departure orientation, and the next one will be open on November 1st, so next week. That was helpful.
And we have another very good question of, should we do pre-departure before getting our answers back? So absolutely. Again, the orientation is really to prepare you to even consider travel. Again, how do you even go about looking for a visa? As Lisa mentioned, all the elements that are included in the orientation. So it's not binding. You don't have to enter, where you're going or anything like that. It's really something you need to do it in order to prepare. And that's why, again, the range of 3 to 6 months is given. But I really recommend, putting your calendar November 1st. And again, if you're already here thinking about travel, it's really the next step in your journey for an international internship. So, I don't know if there's any other question. I'm just going back to see if there's any about travel directly. Again, feel free to send them. Again, for any questions that are about the rest of AIO, I'll just keep them for the end. Again, if there's anything about the travel requirements, feel free to reach out to Lisa. Yes, also I did include the slide about travel registry, but just to keep in mind, so pre-departure, again, you do it in advance to prepare for travel, and then the travel registry, we will also be tracking if you end up doing an internship in the Faculty of Arts. However, it's something you do once you have your travel secured. You enter the information so that it can be tracked. But yeah, these are two big elements as part of as well as the level of the GAC level. Thank you so much, Lisa. So I'll quickly just wrap up with all the information, and then I'll get to the questions that are remaining in the chat. Right. So next steps, again, as I mentioned, so the checklist can be a really good place. Again, if you are just going about finding an internship, it's a really good place. This is, I think, an older one. So as I showed on the website, we have upcoming workshops. So they're the career planning services drop-in hours where you can bring your draft. However, we are also partnering with external experts at the YES Employment Entrepreneurship Office to give you some workshops specifically on how to write a very competitive CV and how to write a competitive cover letter. So even if you think you already know how to do it, it can be really good to have some refreshers. So these are 2 Zoom workshops. You can register on our website like you did for today. There is 2 dates for each of the sessions. It's going to be the same one, but we're giving 2 dates in case you can't make it to one or the other, but you don't have to go to both. Not the 8 at 11. You can go to the CV and the cover letter one. So yeah, this is a good place to start as well. Again, if you want to sign up, it's on the events page, as well as the CV and cover letter review. So again, you can both go to the workshop and then bring your draft to the career planning services. Again, they have drop-in appointments every day, or you can book an appointment and you can use their online guides. A bit of a summary of all the deadlines I mentioned. So again, the next round of pre-departure orientation, really put all these dates in your calendar so you don't miss out. You have to register for pre-departure and then you have a month to complete it. I think it takes about an hour on average to complete it. Obviously, you want to take your time to really get all the information, but I really recommend it to do it as soon as possible. And then we have our CV workshops, November 8, 11, cover letter workshops, 14 and 20th. And then the next round of pre-departure registration is December. Again, keeping in mind that the January deadline will be January 12th. So you really want to make sure that you do it. You're at the 3 months mark of the application now. The summer postings, again, I recommend signing up to our listservs to get the updates as soon as they're updated. But they will be up on our website by December at the latest, but the early deadline ones will be there earlier than that. The early deadline is January 12th. The regular deadline is February 9th. So again, the early deadline is for all the postings that require security clearance. The research internships deadline is February 23rd. Again, if you're interested in that, there's a separate info session, and the award deadline is March 16th. So I've mentioned a lot about talking to our advisors, like Sarah, who is here today. We have 3 slots during the week where our door is open and advisors will be there to welcome you. So you can drop in at any point during those hours. However, if you want to book an appointment, feel free to send us an email, or if you have a quick question, we respond quickly to emails. We are located in the Leacock building, room 307 on the 3rd floor. And as I mentioned, our website has all the information we mentioned today, so feel free to refer to it as well. So the famous listserv newsletter I mentioned, these are the instructions on how to sign up. You can also find it on the contact page of our website. We also update our social media, again, with all the deadlines and the information. However, I really recommend getting the emails because you can get sometimes there's opportunities that we can only share via email. So I really recommend at least doing both. You can send us an email at any point, drop in Leacock, and again, register for coming events. And we're going to be uploading, there's going to be a lot more workshops and events in the winter semester. So just to keep in touch for those new events as well. Some commonly asked questions to get us started with the Q&A. I know it's nearing 2, so again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat right now. Again, getting an internship as a first year is definitely good to talk to us first before applying. Again, some of our internships, like the permanent mission in Vienna, can be a bit requiring a certain experience, but each student and each student's journey is really unique. So it's really better to talk to our office before, getting discouraged of word of mouth. You've heard from a friend. You really want to get the information directly from us, again, because it can change also from year to year. However, there are a lot of opportunities out there for that are adapted for first years. So I really recommend looking into it as soon as possible. Pursuing an internship unrelated to your major. So internships can definitely be an opportunity to explore also different fields. Again, this was really more of the technical advice today. However, if you really want to, there's other info sessions about, again, how to go about your internship search. And the best is always just to come straight to our office. Again, a commonly asked question is, do I need to speak French? Again, I can't say it enough. Check the requirements. Sometimes you do need French, sometimes you don't, sometimes you need Spanish. So really make sure to read through the requirements. That applies for our postings, but also any of the other postings that you can find in terms of internships. All right, that's enough of me talking. Well, I'll talk a bit more, but I really want to hear your questions. So I'll go through the chat. Thank you for sending your questions. So Olivia asked, do we need a letter of recommendation from a teacher? So to apply for the postings, you do not need a recommendation of letter of recommendation. However, to apply for the award, so if you find your own internship and then you're applying for an award, you do need to provide a recommendation letter. Again, all of the what to prepare are detailed on the website for each section. So make sure to read through these specifically, but for postings, it's really a CV cover letter, and if there's any travel documents, so the pre-departure certificate of completion. If you are applying for anything international, again, that's why it's important to have it before you even apply. As first years, is the unofficial transcript only the first semester at McGill? Yes, you can submit, again, whatever you have on your Minerva. Usually you can, the deadlines are not until January, February, so you should have your grades for your first semester. Second round, we will have between January 12th and February 9th to apply. Yes, exactly. So the postings will be up beforehand. And again, it's CV cover letters, so you'll be able to prepare your applications before that. And as I mentioned, the resource is already out there for CV cover letter. And it's, again, if you talk to our advisors, we can tell you more about the postings if you even want to start writing your cover letters. And again, the best thing to do now is talk to us, talk to the past interns. But yes, you'll have about like 4 to 5 weeks to apply for each of the posting. But again, CV cover letter is targeted, and there's 3 maximum, so it's definitely doable. How many interns are chosen for each internship? So that really depends. It's not put on the posting because it depends per position. You can see, in the past years, how many interns where it can range from like one intern to three sometimes. But it really depends on the funding that we get and the host organizations. When does the application open? So for the early deadline, it should be around, again, you get like around 4 to 5 weeks to apply for each of the opportunities. So for the January 12th deadline, it will be open early December, late November at earliest. And for the second round, the form will be updated and open after the first deadline, so after January 12th. Is the application process the same for AO internships and find your own internships? So again, I kind of touched on that, but no, it's different application processes. Hopefully I didn't confuse everyone with that. Doesn't mean we cannot go on exchange in the fall. That is such a good question. You are eligible if you go on exchange, because if you go on exchange, you are still registered at McGill. So you are eligible, you can go on exchange. You can let us know. However, yes, you are eligible if you go on exchange. As an American student in Canada, I can have government aid from the US or Canada. Can I still apply for EEO? So I think Veronica touched on that. Again, that I cannot answer. It's really with the student, the scholarship and student aids office. Should we do pre-departure orientation before getting answers back? Yes, absolutely. It's really a preparation, so you should do it as early as possible, aka November 1st, register for it. Does McGill help find a visa? So again, you have all the resources on their website, and especially with the McGill Abroad office. However, as I mentioned in the beginning, each situation is really individual to your citizenship and the country you're going to. So there is not specifically an advisor for helping you find a visa. You should go to the consulates and the embassies directly to get information. How do you register for pre-departure orientation? So all the slides will be on the website as well. And all the links are clickable, but you can go on the travel section of our website, or you can go on the McGill Abroad safety page as well. If you just Google also pre-departure McGill, you will find it, and there is a register now button, and you just want, again, the registration window is November 1st to November 8th. So you will only be able to register during November 1st to November 8th again, and then it's going to be on My Courses. You will be able to do it on your own time. On average, it takes about an hour to do the preparation. And you have until the end of November to complete the My Courses. And at the end, make sure to download your certificate of completion, because that's what you will need to upload during your applications. Someone went to the CAPS, how to create an impactful CV presentation. Is it worth going to the AI one, or will it be very similar? I'm not familiar with that presentation. We do work with a different office, so the more the better. Again, even if you applied last year, I think it's always great because, again, it's an interactive workshop, so you can also ask your own questions. However, feel free to also go to the CAPS advisor directly and bring your draft if you already feel like you have tools for your application. However, again, the more the better, and each session again really makes from the participants. If we apply in both the early and the regular rounds, that means we can apply for 6 internships total. Yes, exactly. It's 3 rounds, 3 internships per round. But again, it will depend on which ones are in the early applications. The ones in Panama, how many interns are chosen? Again, it depends on the year, it depends on the applications, it depends on the funding. So we do not know at this stage. And when do we usually get answers back? So again, that we go into details in the AO postings info session. However, it really depends on the host organization. So I guess, again, for whoever is still around, I will give a bit more details on the application process for the posting specifically. So you first apply with your CV and cover letter to our office, to the AIO. And the first round is that we read through all the applications and we do a first shortlist. And then the shortlisted candidates get an interview with our office. And then from these interviews, there's another round of being shortlisted, and these candidates get forwarded to the host organization, and then they do their interviews, and then they make the final selection. So those are the steps. Again, it can depend on the organization, how long it takes for them to get back to us. And so yeah, that's the application process. Again, we try to make it happen within a few weeks, and we really try to do the early deadline so that the security clearance, again, you won't hear back for a while. Even if you are selected, then you need to go through the security clearance, which can take a while. So again, there's a lot of uncertainty. Unfortunately, we try to diminish it as much as possible, but that is the reality of applying for jobs and opportunities in general. Is it the same process if we want to do an exchange in the fall? I'm not sure I understand the question. If you are applying for exchange, that would not be with our office. But yes, you can apply for the internships if you are going on exchange in the fall. Let me know if that answers your question or if I didn't get it right. Also, feel free to unmute yourself at this point. Okay, great. All right. Is there anything that wasn't clear? I know that was a lot of information in a short hour. If there is anything, feel free to sign in the chats or unmute yourself, because again, if you say it now, it might help other people be less confused. However, if you only have, okay, there's a question, can you elaborate a bit more on the different rounds? Do you have a specific question? I'm not sure what else. Again, we'll have, once we have the information, it will be more clear once you'll know which posting will be posted when. You can look at the early applications section on our website from last year. But yes, if there is a specific question, I can try to answer it. Otherwise, feel free to send me an email and I can try to answer. All right. So, I mean, it's 10 past 2, so I don't want to keep you for too long. I know it's a busy time. Again, our information is all here. Make sure to sign up for the listserv. Make sure and send us an email if you have anything else. Other than that, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to our speakers. I know a lot of them had to run out. But thank you, Veronica, for taking the time to share about the EO bursary. And I hope to see you all of your names in the applications. And again, make sure you come talk to us if anything is unclear. There is a lot of resources out there. And yeah, make sure to make the most out of it and come talk to us. It can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. So come talk to us. And again, this was all recorded, so you can look back at it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye, Veronica. Thank you so much.